welcome. We're very happy to have here with us Ole Schilling, the climate lead from Deutsche Telekom, and Monique Lempers, the Chief Impact Officer from Fairphone. And we are very proud that we're actually going to show you today the first circular router, and the router that is made of reused ICT components. And the first question is to you, Monique. What made you, how did the idea come alive to design a router based upon reused materials?
A good question, because it's not naturally something that we would do as Fairphone, right? I mean, we do have the most circular phone, of course, but so we're not normally into routers. But then it was a bit over a year ago that Ole came to Amsterdam and knocked on our door. And of course, we have already a partnership with Deutsche Telekom, because they are one of our key operator and reselling partners in Germany. And so in essence, we knew each other a bit, and Ole came to Fairphone to discuss and learn about how we approach circularity, and with a moonshot idea of building a prototype of a 100% circular product. And I really like that idea. And as we were already working with a partner, Cytronics, on reusing chipsets and reusing components of our old smartphones, we felt, well, let's indeed explore, although we were a bit hesitant in the beginning, I must say, because we are not a consultant. We can't just work on something that doesn't directly it's not directly our core business. So we needed some convincing from Ole.
Right. So Ole, you knocked on the door of Fairphone. Why did you do that? What made you start the idea of a circular router?
Well, first of all,
a bit closer.
First of all, the reason it was that as Deutsche Telekom, we are quite ambitious on sustainability and circularity as well. So we have a KPI and a target for 2030 to be 100% circular in devices and anti-IT infrastructure. And what we see is in the market is that there are so many discussions about circularity, but it's mainly about recycling and the plastic of recycling. So in the industry, in the ICT industry, the real circular approaches are very, very minor. So we need to showcase to our own people internally and to our suppliers as well, circularity is possible. And it's not easy to do it just by speaking. You just have to show it that it's possible. And we need to learn to be leading there as well. So this was the idea where we checked in the market, how can we become circular? So we called all our partners and said, who can help us to become more circular, to really overcome the linear business model and to really start to think and make a change towards more looping the business models.
And how did you do that? Because I think you have the circular router behind you. So what makes this design a circular design?
So in the end, we have a whole program about circularity, looking at different aspects. And this circular router is based on the idea that we are reusing electronic elements. So the elements you're seeing here in the router, 70% of the electronic elements are reused. And one key element of this router is the main processor, which you see here. And the main processor is coming from an old Fairphone, which didn't work anymore. So we checked the quality and we reused the processor here, and different other aspects in here are reused as well. So 70%, as I said, are reused element, which did not go to recycling, but were reused. And based on that one, we reached the 70% level, yes.
Wow, that's incredible, because I think there are not many other examples where, from a circular perspective, are really reusing components. So can you maybe even call this as being upcycling?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We do see it in other industries. Automotive is quite ahead there with different companies. They already built up the logistic for that one. What we just noticed here, that with the logistic of reuse, we are in the beginning. So if we are coming back to Deutsche Telekom, to our portfolio people, and they say, we love the idea. We want to build 1 million routers.
Yeah.
And I would call Monique and ask, can I have 1 million used Fairphone processors? We don't have the logistic yet. No. So there's a totally new market we have to build up, which is more like then getting to an interesting business case where we just can get the things for a very cheaper price and to reduce the cost of the router by up to 20%.
So looking into the obstacles, because it's not easy to start completely circular projects, can you share a little bit more about the learnings that you found out building this circular router?
I think the first key learning or the first obstacle was to really find the right people who can do it. So as I said earlier, everybody is speaking about circularity. So you see quite a lot of PowerPoints, but you don't to find the people who really can do it. Who are really saying, okay, let's sit down and really de-solder things. Let's put it together again. And as Monique already mentioned earlier, we found this wonderful startup in Belgium, Citronics, who are really, I mean, he's a space engineer. So, I mean, you need these people to really get into that one, to desolder it, put it together, to test it, etc. So this is more like one obstacle to find really the people who can and want to explore this market. Obstacle number one. Obstacle number two is, as I said, finding components. So just imagine if you are calling your partners like Infineon or MaxLinear, so on the silicon side, etc. And you ask more like, I want to have old parts from you. And they know we are not selling old parts, we just have new parts. So just finding them, it's a new business in the end. And the other obstacle which I would mention here is to test the quality of the used parts. So in the moment it is parts of this router, of this prototype, traveled around the world that we had, this chip had to be tested if it's working in Taiwan. So the CO2 footprint is horrible of this, but this exactly shows that it's not a short-term approach. We need to build up the logistic that we can use the resources and the assets which we have here in Europe, that we can use it and reduce costs by that one.
So there's still a few steps to take. The business case for circularity can be complex as well. So what's in it for Fairphone? What made you spend so much time on doing this and working on this project?
Well, I think for now, on the short term, for Fairphone directly, there's not a business case. But of course, it is one super aligned with our mission to inspire the industry to do things differently and more sustainable. Why is this so important to showcase this? Because it is really not just at the end of the cycle that you start to reuse materials, because that is all. We often talk about recycling, circularity, but it's really about as much in the beginning of the cycle, you already need to make sure that you use your materials as long as possible. And using it this way, and maybe how long do you use a router? Like 10 years or so? In how a customer still uses it for 10 years or 15 years, right? I mean, imagine that it can still be functional for another 15 years. Otherwise, it would have gone to the recycler, meaning that maybe you get some precious metals out of it, or some gold, etc. But the rest is burned and going into the air. So how cool is it that we start now exploring this? And for the long term, of course, there's a business case, as Ole says. If at a certain moment we can supply those million chipsets, then we just give it another life and another value. So the life cycle benefits increase, of course, of a chipset. Yeah.
And then to Ole, still there has to be a positive business case from a financial, not only for climate, but also from a financial aspect. Is that working for this router?
No, as I said, it is about business. So we are a business company. The financial business case is midterm or long term, because it just works if we do get the assets back and we can reuse assets so we can reduce costs. So this will be the business case based on an investment we have to do in the beginning to set up the logistics. But in the end, I mean, we do see that materials are going down. We have geopolitical challenges which are making not the world easier. So where are we getting the chips and the assets from? So if we do have the assets here, and if we build up the logistics, we can reduce the price by 20%. For us, the router is just one example. It could be interesting for every other business. For us, it's just more like router is less complex than other topics. Mobiles are more complex than a router. So this is more like a starting point to really think how these business models can work, and to really have a return on investment financial-wise as well, yes.
And then how are we going to scale this? So how do we make it big and what is needed to make that happen?
So there's a two-way approach. The first way is we have now a first moonshot in the way, which is 70%. It's not 100%. But this is more like a year of learning where we're now sitting together with a portfolio of people from Deutsche Telekom to integrate the learnings into the next specification for the next router. Because as I said in the beginning, we have an ambition for 2030, so our routers need to become more circular. So there's a pressure internally as well that they need to use the learnings now to integrate in the specification to make more circular routers. So this is a one pragmatic portfolio approach. And in parallel, we do have to invest further into research about desoldering, about logistic change, etc., to really build up an operation which works efficiently as we see it, for example, in automotive. So this is a two-folded approach which we are having to push. And to be here next year again, to have another showcase which is 100% circular.
Super. And to Monique, so now there is a router based upon reused Fairphone components. Are there other products where you think maybe there are opportunities there as well?
I think there's a lot of opportunity. I know that Citronics already also reused the motherboard of our Fairphone 2 for a microcomputer. And but this is just the beginning. There's so much you can reuse. You should be able to repurpose cameras, right, in a phone, or memory chipsets, perhaps USB ports. The glass perhaps. Yeah, there's a lot to be done.
I think what is a key question from my side is, with circularity, who is pushing and who is asking? So is it me as an operator asking a supplier, bring it to me, or is it the other way around? I think this is a key aspect that each of us has to push a topic. And I'm just coming from the meeting with the CEO of Fairphone. I think he never experienced before that a customer is coming in and saying, hey, I have an extension of your portfolio here. So when can you deliver? So it's so interesting to see how can we really, if we really mean it, about circularity, push the topic further. And I think this is all for us.
And as a final question, before we start having drinks and having beers and bitterballen, what do you need to make this to a success? Because it's a lot of effort to make this happen. Which help could you use to push this forward?
I think there are two-folded approach as well. So internally, I need a strong CEO and a strong company who's sticking to the idea that we want to be leading in sustainability, that we stay on track, and DT wants to stay on track, number one. Number two is we need other partners and companies who are open to collaborate with a fair share approach to really say, hey, let's try it out. And if there are ideas out there, how can we make it more circular? Just give us a call. And I think this is a key challenge for us.
And what would be an ideal first customer to try it out, to make it work and to feedback to you?
The ideal customer, myself, and Deutsche Telekom, of course.
Fantastic, indeed. Of course.
So it's for me, it's in an instrument where I'm working at the headquarters. Yeah. So I'm responsible for climate topic, as you said. So for me, it's an asset to move my colleagues as well to say, hey, circular is possible. We can do it. We can learn from it. So it's first my company as well to drive them further to become more circular. And we see in the market that there is picking up to become more circular to reduce the cost. Because this is a very cost-intensive market where we really see every cent counts, and there's where I want to compete.
Yeah. And a final question to you, Monique. So after in a year from now, where do you expect we will be with this circular router?
I expect an order from Ole of at least to start with 25,000.
25,000 routers. Fantastic. All right, I think that's enough to start having a beer. Okay, good.